Hello and welcome to our channel, The Turner's Flip Side. This is a video of a panel discussion we hosted around transitioning in another country. Some very good points to be made.
Before we get started, you might wonder why we decided to do this. So, from my perspective, I heard a story when I first moved to Ahihit. This guy was jogging in Ahihit and fell dead on the sidewalk of a heart attack. His body laid there for 6 hours before anyone could touch him because he didn't have his documents in order. And Loretta is here to go over all of this information. So, welcome to today's panel presentation on
Can people stop talking, please?
being at peace at the end of life. This panel is being led by 4 professional and enlightened souls who will share important information to guide you in being prepared when entering another beautiful phase of our life's existence in this realm. My name is Dr. Ada Turner. I practiced allopathic dentistry for 35 plus years, and then I changed my approach to integrative holistic dentistry for the last 30 plus years of my practice. And when I did that, it changed everything about how I treated my patients, what we were taught or not taught, and generally how I approached and lived my life from that moment forward. Now, we are not taught in the traditional institutions to honor ourselves, to respect others, but more to compete, to honor and worship money, to place ourselves above others, to acquire, to conquer, to win at any cost. Life here in this construct was meant to come and learn. Sort of like birth school, if any of you heard that phrase. To generously contribute without fear or scarcity or lack, to elevate and remember, to approach everything and everyone with unconditional love. And then transcend and transition. We are meant to be born, to live, and to die by our own choice. It's just a fact. So as immigrants and expats living in a country with different rules, we are here as a panel of experts today in our unique specialized areas of interest to give you important information that will make your journey easier, both for you and for your families. These presentations will be short and concise, and if you're interested in more detailed information from each of our approaches and how it can comfort and support you, we'll schedule a part 2 panel presentation in 2 weeks, bringing in Red Cross, possibly an attorney and a notary public, to further assist you. Today's presentation will get you started on your way. Death is not the end. We really never die. We just change clothes. What I bring to this discussion is an esoteric or forgotten approach to how we live and die. It's an approach that encourages you to seek the truth about who you are as a species, why you are here, and what you are striving to remember that you've forgotten in order to live, in order to live a full and peaceful, a healthy and well thought out life, where you lead your life, again, where you lead your life, is that better?
Yes.
Where you lead your life with love. I keep saying that, and I know a lot of you that sounds kind of whatever-ish, but it is the truth. This approach that I am interested in can be challenging for most people because they don't remember their origin, and that is by design. But there are some who have always known that something doesn't quite fit the narrative we've been fed since we were born. You question it. You're not sure why you question it, but you do. So, as I mentioned earlier, you might wonder what this has to do with death preparation. My area of interest is NDEs and OBEs, near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences, where one has an experience either with dying and returning or leaving the body intentionally to discover. And on a personal level, I know of people who have actually died and returned with a message for us. And this was sort of esoteric, like a few years ago. But now, all is being revealed. We are at a time now where our earth is changing, we are evolving, and so there are more and more people who do this kind of work that are coming forward now. They're not afraid to talk about it, and because they are not afraid that people might think they're weird or it's woo-woo or whatever. So this is something that I have delved into personally and am very interested in, and am actually practicing to do out-of-body experiences. So for those that are interested in talking more about this subject matter, I have some cards here, and my email address is on that card. You can email me, and we can get together for a more detailed discussion. When the pupil is ready, the teacher appears. Light attracts light, and this is the time, again, when all will be revealed. Now, I want to introduce to you other professional specialists and tell you a little bit about each one of them. Next to me is Doug Reed. Doug will talk to you about spirituality and rituals as they relate to death. He was trained as a death doula about 2 years ago, but has explored the meaning of death for most of his life. This began his search for understanding. He knew the concept of heaven and hell was misguided, but he also had a knowing that a spirit continued in some form. Having lived in San Francisco through the 80s and 90s, he experienced literally hundreds of deaths among his acquaintances, many of which were close friends. He found he had an acceptance of death, while others often refused to even think about it. He continues to embrace death as a part of life. Today, in a few minutes, Doug will talk about spirituality and ritual as it pertains to death. Next to Doug is Bonnie Gonzalez. Bonnie will talk about grief and grace. Bonnie is a compassionate healer and spiritual guide dedicated to helping others navigate loss and rediscover wholeness. She's a certified grief educator, grief coach, and registered nurse. Bonnie draws upon decades of experience in hospice and palliative care to bring wisdom, empathy, and grounded presence to her work. She is also a licensed soul collage facilitator and religious science practitioner, weaving creative and spiritual practices into grief support offerings. And then on the end, we have Loretta Downs, who will discuss the practical needs associated associated with dying. She has been supporting people through the natural end-of-life experience for 40 years. She has held hands with friends and family, with people in hospice, hospitals, and nursing homes, sometimes for years before death came. She has guided loved ones on the unfamiliar path of giving care, letting go, and celebrating life. She is a certified death doula. She teaches classes on advanced care planning at the Lake Chapala Society. So we'll begin with Doug Reed.
Thank you. Let me know. Can you hear me?
Yes.
No?
Yes.
Okay. You might have to remind me to bring it up close. So, I'm just going to speak a little bit about the spirituality of death. And every spiritual practice, every religion, always recognizes that something continues beyond our death. And yet, we often still fear it. The Vedas are sort of the ancient scriptures that Hinduism evolved out of. And they often mention that the biggest fear for man to conquer is the fear of death. And that fear is so great, I think, in our Western society that we've become to sanitize death. We refuse to talk about it quite often. We ignore it. We let it go by. It becomes a medical event instead of a spiritual event quite often. We put it in the hands of the doctors, of the funeral home, the embalmers, what have you, which shields us from death. And my feeling is we need to embrace it as part of life. Everything dies. Spoiler alert, right? We're all gonna die. Plants die, animals die. I'm even told that stars are born and die. It's a natural progression. It's part of life. And it's just as sacred as being born as to die. So, a couple interesting things. Has anyone heard the concept of 21 grams? At the beginning of the 19th century, this doctor who was working with people that were dying weighed people, took their weight just before they died. And then he weighed them right after they died. And he concluded that they all lost 21 grams, and he attributed that to our soul. That our soul actually has a physical weight. I don't know if I necessarily believe that, but I think it's beautiful. For someone to even consider that says something. When I was 15, I had a brother that was 18 who died, and it really became the beginning of my spiritual journey. And I read a lot of books, and I looked at a lot of religions, and studied just a lot of different things pertaining to that. One of the books I read was called Unfinished Symphonies, a woman, Rosemary Brown. So she played piano. She wasn't professional, but all the great masters, Beethoven and Bach and Liszt and all of these, Mozart, came to her and gave her the music that they had not finished. And she wrote it all out. And professionals analyzed it and identified, they could tell, yes, this is Beethoven's work. This is someone else's work. And it was very recognizable, and it just really has always stuck in my head. The Hinduism, also incorporates the concept of reincarnation. I personally believe that's a choice that we make at some point in our spirit form. There's an area where they describe our life as a caterpillar crawling along a blade of grass. And the caterpillar is crawling along this blade of grass until it finally reaches the end, and the grass bends down, and the caterpillar simply climbs onto another blade of grass. And that's how they describe our transition from one life to another. It's just, for me, a beautiful thought. So, with all of this, and with embracing death, it also doesn't mean we're not supposed to grieve. And this woman will tell us a little bit more about that, speak to that. But I want to talk about some of my own personal experiences as well. I had a husband and we bought a house in Ahahik over 20 years ago. But about 10 years ago, we decided to move here permanently. And it was a big move for me, as it was for many of you. You know, giving up a community and friends and starting all anew. And so I went to a medium just to kind of get a take. What are the spirits telling me? I go in the door, and he's like, I think I know your mother died, but there's someone else here, a brother. He had no information prior to that, that my brother had died. And he said he's simply saying he's sorry you can't be here to enjoy this new step in your life, that it's really beautiful, he's excited for you. And then this meeting proceeded to name 5 other close friends that had all died. He said they're all here. He said Ron is here, and Ray is here, and Kevin is here, and George is here, and Tim is here. He didn't miss a beat. He said they're all here and they're all happy for you. Taking this step. It was just very reaffirming. And then
just a little take on that. I dare say that for each one of you who are sitting here, you're sitting here for a reason. This is information you want or need to know. And there is someone here with you, each and every one of you. In that.
yeah, I think we all have guardian angels, you might call them. But spirits that we have known or touched on, maybe even ancestors that we haven't connected to, that might be here giving us some sense of guidance. So we made the move to Mexico. Prior to that, my husband had open heart surgery. And when we got here, he really started digressing, to be honest. He wasn't taking care of himself. He was losing his physical body and was falling down, and got to a point where he couldn't walk. And about 6 years ago, he passed away. I called a medium again. I didn't give him any information. I just said, I want to know what comes. And he described my husband in detail. He said, did he have heart surgery? Yeah. And then he asked me, and I was renting a little house at that point in West Ahahik. This little house with this huge, old, ancient garden that I was trying to bring back to life. And he goes, do you have a garden? I'm like, yes. And he said, well, he's saying that's where you're going to find him. And then he asked me, he goes, do you live near water? I'm like, yes, I live near water. He says, well, he's saying that's where you're going to find peace. And that's truly what has evolved. I spend a lot of time in my garden. I feel connected. And I spend a lot of time at the lake, soaking in the peace and the beautiful spirit that's there. I was going to talk a little bit, I was asked to speak to ritual as well. And there's, I really spent some time what makes a ritual. And there's some rituals we do that we really want to think about. For me, it's about being present, being connected to whatever is happening. Okay.
Oh, you're perfect.
Okay. Well, I also wanted to mention, just last week, the family across the street from me had a member die. They weren't living there, but they brought the body to that house across the street from me. And the whole family, 100 people came probably and spent the night with his body. And when I saw them setting up the little canopy, I went over, and my Spanish is not great, and very few of them speak English. And a little girl came up to me, 5 years old, and she goes, "My father died." But she said it was such wisdom and knowledge and lack of fear. And they spent the entire night there. People praying, people talking, women making food, men drinking lots of tequila, the kids playing, but all of this with the body in its presence. And I just found that really beautiful. And I think we need to spend more time with the dead, to be honest, in order to connect to it. So a ritual, and I also want to mention, I was trained as a death doula. One of my best teachers has been Loretta. She's really been a driving force in my practice as well. And she often approaches through a practical side that she's going to explain, but that's a great way to get us to start talking about death, right? It's just sometimes easy, or sometimes difficult. Want to talk about death today? So it's a great segue, and it's very important work as well. But the ritual I want to talk about is something I shared with Loretta recently, and that was we were both in the presence of a young man that passed away, and we invited his partner to wash the body with us. And we got a big bowl of warm water and wash rags. We put some essential oils in the water, and we just took our time and washed his whole body down. And, became familiar with this is what a dead body is. It's a very natural thing. So I invite you, if you ever have the honor to be in the presence of death, to take time with it, to consider washing a body. And if that sounds too frightful, call a doula. We'll come and help lead. That's it. That's what I have to say today. Oh yes, so there's several people in the area that have done the doula training in the last few years. And we've developed a Facebook page initially, and now we're presenting a website as well. And that is, I'm trying to remember the full name, Lake Chapala End of Life Care.
Well, that sounds like a banner.
Say it again.
That's a lot of words, but if you plug that in, I think you'll find it.
Say it again.
Say it again. Couldn't hear what you were saying.
Lake Chapala End of Life Care.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Oh, you want me to keep it? Yeah, but it seems like it's gonna be a little
Oh,
short.
is it? Thank you.
Yeah, that's what we'll rearrange everything. And your time, just give me another 2 minutes now. Okay, 8 minutes, let me know. Okay, I'm being respectful. Okay. Of time. The only reason I asked her to do that is because. Microphone. Do I really need a microphone? No. You promised. But I will use the microphone. I have 4 kids, 2 husbands, so I don't really need a microphone. But anyway, yeah, I just want to. Okay. I'm just gonna stand. Yeah. So anyway, the reason I really wanted to be timed because when I talk about grief is my jam. Grief gets all of my burners totally lit. So I want you to just do something. I want you to play along with me for a minute, okay? Just shake a little bit. Just shake a little bit. Shift in your chair because we've had some beautiful experiences. And so if we shake a little bit, shift a little bit, then we can arrive to this moment because this moment is new. You've never experienced this moment. So bring your entire attention to this moment. And with that, I just want you to take a minute and close your eyes. And notice how when you close your eyes, your thoughts immediately turn inward. And just take one deep breath and blow it out. I'm going to close your eyes, nice deep breath, easy in your spirit, easy in your spirit. And the word is grief. Be with that word for just 10 seconds. Be with that. You can't hear me?
Traffic outside.
The word that I'm asking you to play with in this moment is the word grief. Grief. And so now, open your eyes and just popcorn style. Tell me what came up when you said the word grief mentally. What comes to mind?
Tranquility.
Tranquility? Ooh, good for you. You get the cute dog. Anybody else?
Loss.
Love.
Love? Ooh. Pain.
We have it because we love them and miss them.
And I like that. Susie, right?
Yeah.
Susie?
Yes, buddy.
I like that. I like what you said about we love them. Because grief is an emotional response to a loss. And losses, we suffer a myriad of losses that can put us into grief. But the one that we most often think about is the loss of a loved one. And as I said, that's the biggest hole you'll ever have blown through your heart. But there are other losses. What about moving here? What about moving here from whatever country you came from? That was a loss. You left behind friends, you left behind family, maybe even some material possessions that you absolutely loved. You want to share the joke with us? No.
I said it wasn't a loss.
So, this is the point that I want to make most often, or what I want to make most clear, is that loss is an emotional, grief is an emotional response to a loss, and a myriad of losses, as I said. And then we can get into a myriad of different types of grief. You know, we have anticipatory grief, which will probably come up today with Loretta share, that we start anticipating our own death, which then puts us into sense of sadness and emotional state. That's grief. And then we can have cumulative grief, where we've had a lot of losses all at once. In 2020, my gosh, that was a horrible year for all of us. But not only the pandemic for me, I lost my baby brother, I lost my older sister. We moved from the US to Europe, leaving behind all my family and friends. And those cumulative losses put me into what's known as a dark night of the soul. And I don't know if anybody's ever experienced a dark night of the soul, but that is a truly, truly painful time. It was for me. I'll keep it in mind. It was a very, very painful time. And then we have collective grief. And collective grief is what happens to a community, to the world, you know, with so many natural disasters, so many political mood swings, I'll put it that way, that everybody's feeling some sense of loss of what they had in the past. So that is a collective grief. The positive thing about collective grief, though, is that we get to talk about it. You know, there's not anywhere that you won't go that, oh, but did you hear about that hurricane that hit and killed 500 people, or that earthquake that happened? It gets you talking. And then it gets you doing things like you can volunteer, you can give money. It gets you involved. That is the positive end of cumulative or of collective grief, that we can somehow, with that situation, grieve together. So, and then there's a last. The list goes on, but the last is disenfranchised grief. Has anybody heard of that? Yep. It's about losses that we have that we don't get emotional support around. How about the loss of your mobility? How about having to give up your driver's license because you can't drive anymore? How many people are going to come over and say, oh, I'm so sorry? Most people will say it's about time they took that idiot off the road. But Anyway, oh, and the other one from disenfranchised grief, how about if you had an ex that died? My ex-husband died, and I was, happily married again. But that just really tore my heart open. And people didn't say, oh, I'm so sorry. The only people that did say they felt sympathy and compassion was my husband's community, the Cubans. They would, when he talked to his friends and he would tell them, oh, his ex-husband died, they would say, tell her I'm so sorry. And it's like, wow, I really, really get that. So those are the different types of grief, and if you want to know more, I can tell you more. Yes, so here's what I want to say. Doesn't matter what is the cause of your grief, because it hasn't been it has been caused by a
Speak it to the tunnel. Speak it to the tunnel.
So what I want to say is when you are in grief, let's get to the heart of the matter. When you are in grief, and if you're taking notes, there's 3 things that you need to remember about your grief. Your grief needs to be heard. Your grief needs to be validated. And your grief needs to be shared. We cannot heal in isolation. We cannot. We can do it, but what you resist will persist. That grief will not go away. It'll be there waiting till the end of the day. It'll wait till you finish the dishes, wait till you've eaten your pint of ice cream, and then it's like, oh, here I am. It needs to be tended to. You need to tend your grief. And here's what I want to say so that you're not feeling any sense of uninformed or feeling guilty. I want to just ask you this. Who taught you how to grieve? Well, who taught you how to grieve? Who was that? Mills? I didn't hear the name. Can I have it?
No, I just said, well, you're preaching, honey. You're preaching.
So I just want you to know that you were never taught how to grieve. Treat yourself with kindness and gentleness. If you're in the midst of grief, just be your most compassionate caregiver. But do find a friend. Find someone that can be there for you. I call it a grief buddy. Somebody that has agreed to be there with you. To say, you can call me at 3 a.m, or I'll go to a party with you and we'll make up an excuse to leave together. But you need a buddy. You need a grief buddy. And if you have a partner, please don't ask your partner to take on that responsibility of being your grief buddy. And it sounds like I'm at times. I just want to take a quick look to see. The only other thing I want to say, and maybe we'll have time to come back, is that applaud yourself. Applaud yourself right now. I applaud you. I thank you for showing up. Because the number 2 things not talked about in our society, I always thought it was death that was not talked about. It is grief. Grief is the most number 1 subject not talked about. So look at us right here. Look at us playing like big kids on the block. We're talking about grief and death, both in the same breath. And nothing happened. There wasn't a thunderbolt that came out of the sky and struck us down. So I want to end with this. All the other things next time. But I want to end with this poem. Not poem, a writing by. Her name is Sobonfu Somé, and she was an African writer. African writer. Am I okay? Okay, and I want you to just hear this. I want you to feel, close your eyes and just feel into this, okay? Right. Close your eyes and feel into this. We experience joy and sadness. Many times we have grief we don't have words for. We have many losses. It's important for us to grieve, to recover from what we have lost. grieving is a soul cleansing way to reclaim and to recover our spirit. When we don't grieve, we stay stuck in an unhealthy place and lose who we are. So it is very important to cry, to walk in nature, and to express our grief so that we can feel safe and sane once again. And also so our bodies can recover from the loss. Thank you. I wrote a book. It's called Blindsided by Grief, and it's 5 steps that you can follow to help start your journey to recovering from your grief. And it ends with 28 days of tending your grief. And if you sign up on my email list, I'll send you those 14 days for free. Okay?
I've read the book and it's excellent.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Judy.
Judy.
Well, you want to take the mic? No. Thank you, Judy.
So now we're going to get to the practical, the really detailed and practical
Oh, you
side.
make me sound boring.
No, this is important.
That's more important.
Well, it's all important because we experience all musical chairs.
I congratulate you for coming here because I know it's a stretch, as you've heard. Particularly, we don't like to talk about this. But so congratulations for showing up. Can you all hear me? Is this working?
No.
How's that? I think I have to stand here. Okay. I'm Loretta Downs, and I have been working with deaf for more than half my life. And yeah, I'm looking around. We're all the Olympians of aging. Look around, right? Well, first of all, we're still here, and we're doing a really good job of it. And because I can tell we've all moved from somewhere else, that took a lot of courage. And I'm Bonnie, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to disturb you.
Oh, yeah, no.
In order to stay by
I
the
love
mic.
being
Okay.
disturbed.
First of all, we have to make friends with Doug. As Doug reminded us, spoiler alert, we're all going to do it. But before we do, a lot of the people we love are going to die. And right now, the monarch butterflies are, how many of you are Canadians? Oh, the Canadians haven't come back, we're still celebrating Thanksgiving up there. All right, American? Everybody else? Anyone from somewhere else? No, okay, I'm from Chicago. All right. Cold winter. But that's so the monarchs are coming back now from as far as Canada, and they miraculously arrive in Michoacan around the Day of the Dead. And the people who live there believe they're the souls of the dead returning. It's a very spiritual experience, and I have raised monarchs. I'm a monarch conservationist. And there are a lot, with the Day of the Dead, there are a lot of monarch butterfly symbols. In fact, the Lake Chapala Society, and I'm going to put these up front, is having a celebration of life event. I'm speaking at Open Circle on the 26th, Sunday, and on the 29th, that Wednesday, we're having a memorial service for everyone. And in the time between, we'll be selling luminaria candles at the front entrance every day starting the 19th. And it's a beautiful service of remembrance. There'll be posts on Facebook and all over the place. So if you're free on the evening of the 29th, come. And you know, we, north of the border, first of all, we're all born with death holding our hand. We all are. You're born, there's going to be an end to your life. At differing times. I've been with babies that lived 2 days, and I've been with 102-year-olds. You just don't know. But we kind of like to pretend she's not there, we North Americans, and we try to run away from her, and then we argue with her. But the Mexicans have learned to dance with death. It's very present in the culture and in the lives of Mexicans. We have the artwork all over it. And my mission is to create opportunities to talk about dying and death in positive terms. We have to change our mindset. And one of the parts Doug mentioned this is we've made death a medical event, and it's not. It's a spiritual process. And one of the things, unfortunately, we have to prepare. And there's some legal aspects to preparing for death. And you all have some handouts. Everyone should have a values worksheet. And you're going to do that when you go home. Every couple or household should have a copy of this. The Lake Chapala Society started printing these, actually I'd like to stand, thanks. Yeah. About 25 years ago. We just updated it again, so this is very new. Eventually it's going to be online and not print, and I'm working to get them printed because I think it's important to have this in your hand. I'm going to go through that. And then there's the emergency registry. Now the story that Ada told at the beginning is the reason we want this registry. People here die alone at home. People have to get into their houses and have no information at all, or they're found in the hospital, they've had an accident. The authorities contact the Lake Chapala Society to see if they have them registered. There's no financial information in this. It's your own personal information, how to reach your next of kin, contact. Fill this out and take it to the Lake Chapala Society in the office. It costs 50 pesos to register it. You can go back later and they'll give you a copy or more. Yes.
Is there any other way other than going in person?
I think you could probably give it to the Commodore and we'll pick them up. But it's a 50 peso registration fee. Okay. Everybody hear that?
Yes. Sorry.
How many of you never get to the Lake Chapala Society? I'm interested. Okay, because you all live in this direction.
Right.
All right, so we're going to work with the Commodore here.
Who needs a copy of that form?
We also have them at the duty desk.
You have more of these?
And if you've already registered with them, we also have the orange forms. That's an update form.
Yeah.
Because we move around so much here on Lakeside. Yes.
Change doctors. So we will make this happen. And if you have neighbors, if you know people that are living alone, LCS has a program called Reaching Out, where volunteers will contact, and anyone who's living alone can register. It's called Reaching Out. You can register online, and we have volunteers who will either email, phone, or text a person in the morning or an agreed upon time, and they have to reply. And if they don't reply, there's an emergency contact on file. The woman who owned the cute gift shop in the Plaza Bougainvillea recently died, and Jill from Chicago, and she was in her house for a day before she didn't show up at work. So neighbors went, no one had a key to her house, no one had any other information, so they had to call the police. Her sister, who lives here, was out of town. They had to call the police, and if the police comes when somebody has died, they take the body to the morgue in Guadalajara, and they also take things like your laptop, your wallet, and your phone. So it makes it very difficult for people to find you, reclaim you, and you know, the people who love us, we have to help them. There are 2 points to what I'm telling you today. One is we have to make friends with death. We just have to stop being afraid of it.
Yes.
It's a beautiful spiritual experience if we're planning for it, if we're prepared for it. And the other thing is, if something happens to us, a medical experience, a crisis, it involves a lot of people. And some of them know you and some of them don't. So the more information they have, the better off you are. And Ada mentioned there's going to be another event on the 23rd with the Cruz Roja bottles. They'll sell the bottles. And that's got all your medical information in it. You put it in your refrigerator, and if you have to call Cruz Roja, they know what to do for you. So we have to be helpful for the people who love us. The Thanksgiving after my mother died, I sat around the table, like you're all sitting here, and you will soon be sitting around the table with people you care about. And grace in this household is, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I looked around the table, there was my 22-year-old godson on his way to Iraq with the Marines in 2006. And my Aunt Vera, who's the last of my mother's 5 siblings to still be alive, and she was showing signs of dementia. And then I realized one of us will be the first to die, and one will be the last, just like here. And the next time you're sitting with somebody you love, allow yourself a moment to be aware that one of you is going to die first and the other one is going to die last. They're 2 different preparations. I started to have a panic attack, and they passed the platters and the plates, and I filled my plate twice, big dish, and I got back into the moment because this moment wasn't going to happen again, ever again. Don't miss the important moments by thinking in the future. Driving home, I said, oh my God, what if I'm in a car accident and I'm killed? My sister doesn't know anything, and she'd be the person that would have to pick up all my pieces. And I thought, well, what if I'm not dead? I'm just hurt badly. She doesn't know anything about that either. So I made a deadline to do my advanced care planning by Valentine's Day. And the booklet you have, this is a roadmap. It's now, we've called it Safety Net, Preparing for an Emergency in Lakeside. Everything we need to know is in this booklet. Now, I've given thousands of these out in the I've been speaking in town for 12 years. Thousands, and I know most of them are in somebody's drawer. I know this. I have a friend who, she actually gave me a ticket to visit her in Maine last month, so she could go over her advanced care planning. Her husband had died and she had to redo it all. She pulled out the old booklet. She'd never done it, and I'd given her the booklet in 2019. So we're going to start charging for this. You're getting the last free copy, I'm telling you.
Daryl and I at the start, we were like way ahead. We've got,
Okay, Ada came to my I teach 4 times a year at LCS, and Ada came to my workshop, and it worked.
it was really.
She got the message, and Doug's been there. So sometimes we need a little push. This has everything. One thing, you need to use a notario publico, not just an attorney, to fill out your medical directive in a will. It's a special practice here. It's an attorney who's had, a notario who's had more education. I have to really kiss this. Okay.
Oh, question. Does a will in Mexico cover stuff in other countries?
Does a will in Mexico cover stuff in other countries? No. Nor does your will in other countries cover what, if you own property in Mexico, you need a will. Not a car. Cars are transferable easily, but if you own a house here, you need a will. And if you have a bank account here, you have a beneficiary on it probably, right?
Right.
Check with your bank what your beneficiary has to do to collect the money.
Yes.
Intercam and Multiva require the beneficiary to come to town in person, present ID, and wait a week or 2 before they cut the check. So that might make a difference in who you want to put on your beneficiary. Medical power of attorney is a very important piece of paper for all of us who don't have immediate family with us. In a medical power of attorney, you need to work with a notario. It's a template. Different notarios, different templates. There's a list of notarios in this booklet. Some of them use a 2-page form, some of them use a 15-page form. They all say the same things. You can add what's important to you. Like, do not resuscitate me if I'm at the end of my life and I have a heart attack and I'm in the hospital. Like, I don't want any surgery. If I'm in a coma or I'm irresponsible. If you don't do this, you're irresponsible. True. And it's very clear that I don't want any surgeries. I don't want dialysis. Because frankly, when we get into a hospital, anywhere, they have a lot of technology and they're trained to cure whatever is wrong, not always looking at the whole picture, the whole person. So you need to have a medical directive that names someone with an additional 1 or 2 people to speak for you if you're in a condition you can't speak. And then you put down the living will part as the kind of treatments you want or don't want at the end of life. I wrote an addendum to my medical directive, which, by the way, you can change it as long as you're alive. I just changed mine because my old one, I had a friend who's not such a close friend anymore, and another friend who went back to the States. And you really want someone who can be here with you. You can name, and bilingual is helpful. You might have to hire a translator, but yes, because the hospitals, there's a lot of English spoken, but it's not always really adequate English. So that's your medical directive. And I did an addendum to mine because I'm very fussy. And I said, if I'm not speaking, I want chocolate ice cream, not vanilla. I want classical music. My sister would have had me, she'd have country and western on. I want socks on my feet. No one knows my feet are cold all the time. I don't want a television on anywhere near me, and I want my girlfriends to take care of my chin hairs. I wrote all that up. And guys with the nose and the ears, you want to die pretty, don't you?
That's right.
So I just thought, and then I had them over for dinner and opened a bottle of wine and ordered a pizza, and we all had a good time going through all of the things I want them to take care of at the end of my life. Okay. There's a power of attorney for property, which is not the same thing as power of attorney for health care. You need to work with a notario. It's complicated. This gives someone authority to get into your money, which you may or may not want someone to do. This also talks banks and beneficiaries. I talked about that. The notarios, there's a list of funeral homes. I suggest you shop around. Now, some people, we have 2 beautiful funeral homes here, San Francisco.
This was part 1 of the presentation. Part 2 was not recorded because it was just questions and answers and more clarification. So thanks for watching. See you in the next video.